Hi there, welcome to my latest video called Skateboarding for the Terrified. I hope you've enjoyed my previous spoof BMX videos, but this one's a bit different. It's trying to encourage people who wouldn't naturally want to have a go at skateboarding because they might be too terrified or scared of having a go to have a go. So the first thing you're going to need to consider is what type of skateboard to buy. And if you have a longboard like this, which is slightly unusual looking, you'll find it's a lot more stable because it's close to the ground and it's got wide trucks compared to a conventional skateboard. Now if possible, you should buy your board from a local independent shop who will be able to give you very good advice and will probably let you stand on various boards and try them. Or another good way is to get a board second hand. There are lots of boards available cheaply second hand because it's the sort of thing people give up on and sell off their board. Now you also need to consider what clothing to wear. Shoes get worn out very quickly when you're skateboarding, when you're pushing along with your foot. So I would recommend just wearing a very old pair of shoes because it's going to get even more worn out very quickly. Safety gear is good to consider, so it's a good idea to wear a helmet because you won't be maybe very confident on how you might fall off and you might hit your head, and any other safety gear that might improve your confidence. And there are various things available such as wrist guards, which mean that if you stick your hand out when you fall over, you won't break your wrists, or it will reduce the risk of that, and any other padding which makes you feel more confident. Some people say they just make you break your arm higher up, which is the worst break. It's a really good idea to learn how to fall safely. Now, the good thing to know is how to fall safely off your board, and there's something called tuck and roll, where you roll onto your shoulder. And probably if you play a contact sport, you'll already be quite good at learning how to fall properly and safely. Now, when you stand on the board for the first time, it's important to work out which is your dominant foot, and this is the foot you're going to use to push along with your other foot more permanently on the board. So this pushing with your left foot and your right hand foot staying on the board, like I'm doing here, is called a goofy stance. Or you can stand the other way round with your right hand foot pushing along and your left hand foot permanently on the board, and this is called a regular stance. And one will feel more comfortable than the other. Now if you get someone to push you from behind, or you'll naturally put one foot in front like that, and this will indicate that that's the dominant foot, or it would be the foot that you tend to kick a football with, for example. One way will feel more natural than the other. Now when you first stand on a skateboard, it can be quite scary because it's like standing on a sheet of ice. Now that's fine if you're the sort of person who likes standing and skidding on ice, but bad otherwise. So I'd recommend putting your board onto a more rough surface such as carpet or grass, and just standing on it like this and bouncing around, and it's less likely to skid away from under you, and just get the feel for balancing on the board. Then when you've done that, you can put it onto a smooth surface and practice just moving around slightly on the board and maintaining your balance like this. Once you're happy with that and you've bounced around on your board and got some sense of balance, then I would recommend finding a very shallow slope and slowly rolling down it under the influence of gravity. And this will give you a feeling for how to maintain your balance when the skateboard is moving. So it doesn't matter how slowly you go down this hill, the slower the better really. One thing is that because the board has small wheels, if you hit any debris, it will tend to make the board stop dead and you'll shoot off it and crash. So please make sure that you clear any debris out of the way first. The next thing to try is pushing, and I would find a flat surface and put the board on it, a flat smooth surface, and you need your foot that's staying on the board. On a conventional board this would be over the front truck bolts or towards the front of the board, and then move your other foot on the ground from the front of the board towards the back as you propel the board forward. And this is called pushing. Again, you can start off very slowly and gradually get a bit faster as you gain confidence. So you can see my front foot is at the front of the board, and the other foot, the pushing foot, starts at the front of the board and moves to the back as the board moves forward. So we can see here we're building up a bit more speed as we gain confidence. The next thing to think about is turning, and to turn you can just lean towards the direction you want to turn, and that will cause the movement of the trucks, which makes the board turn. And again, on a flat surface you can just roll along, leaning one way and the other to make the board turn. The next thing to think about is how you're going to stop. Now, as long as you're not going so fast that you can't run as fast as you're going, which you probably won't at first, you can just what's called run out of it. So you can just basically jump off the board and run alongside it and bring yourself to a stop, and hopefully catch your board up and stop that as well by standing on it. And this is what makes skateboarding in a way a lot easier to learn than, say, riding a bike, is that you can just jump off it. Whereas a bike, you've got the bike itself to get tangled up on, cause a more serious crash. So you can see me doing my jumping off there. Another thing you can try is called foot braking, where you put the foot you'd normally push with down onto the ground, heel first, and just rub the heel along the ground like that to bring the board to slow yourself down. Now, as you start skateboarding, you'll get inspired, and when you see a really nice smooth surface like this is the road between the cemetery and Isker School in Exeter, which has got this really nice smooth composite surface, and it's really lovely for skateboarding along, and you'll see something like this and really want to ride it. So here we go, along there, building up a little bit of speed. Now, there are a few disadvantages of a longboard, despite it being more stable. So you've got these nice wide stable trucks and wider wheels and a wider deck, which makes it. And the drop-through trucks or a drop-down board brings down the centre of gravity, but you don't have any tails on it, which means you can't do many of the conventional tricks which involve standing on the tail and flipping the board around. So if you want to get into doing some tricks, you really need to consider using a conventional skateboard. And you'll see this is a conventional board which I've adapted with some longboard wheels to make it a bit more stable, and also some angled risers which make it easier to turn and mean that despite having the large wheels, you don't get wheel bite where the wheels dig into the bottom of the board and cause it to stop abruptly. So here's a few things you can try once you've got your conventional skateboard, which hopefully you'll now get on with a bit better. Now you started practicing on a longboard, and the first thing is to stand on the one of the tails and drop the board down like this, and you can try this a few times, like 10 times in a row, until you get the hang of it. And this is a fairly fundamental thing of using to start off, or as basis of a lot of other tricks. And the other thing to do is a kick turn, where you turn the board round by standing on the tail and doing a sort of little manual and bringing the front of the board up and swinging your body weight round in the direction you want to turn. It's a lot easier to turn in the forward direction, like I've just done there, than going backwards, I find. And again, you can try doing this by certain angles, like 90 degrees. And then there's something called a tail slide you could use to stop, which I haven't really got the hang of when I'm going along, but basically it's standing on the one of the tails and sliding along on the tail of the board as you're going along. So there's a lot of things you can build up. Once you've got the basic confidence to ride a board, you can gradually try adding to your repertoire. So I hope that's given you some inspiration and ideas. Please like this video if you like it, or don't like it if you don't like it, and I hope that's inspired you. And here's a picture of me riding a conventional board down that nice smooth path in the